What is up, guys? Welcome back. It's that time of the month again. Kind of a weird way to put that, but it's the end of the month, which means it's the end of another Speed Duel League Win A Box. This time Win A Box number 4. The last Win A Box of this format, the Battle City box, drops at the end of this month, which is going to usher in a new format with new cards and stuff, hopefully. So yeah, this tournament was going to be 3 weeks. About 3 weeks of competition led to this match. We did 48-hour rounds this time instead of 72-hour rounds because we wanted to finish well in advance of the Battle City box releasing so that people could focus more on that. And it is. The Battle City box drops or releases in about a week. And then from there, we're going to reset the leaderboard for December. The top 10 global leaderboard will be reset. People can start earning points for that again, and then so we'll announce the winner, basically, I guess, of Season 1, sort of. At the end of this month, that'll be in the Discord. And then we will also have a ton of tournaments coming up in December. I've talked to a lot of different organizers. There's just so much stuff that's going to be on December for the Battle City box, so plenty of opportunities for you guys to earn points as well. But with that said, let's get into this finals of Win A Box number 4. We've got Art LeQuint at the bottom, Kadaz at the top. Art LeQuint, you guys have probably seen before if you've watched Win A Box number 1. He was in the finals there. He's actually, so that is 2 finals, and we've only had 4 Win A Boxes. So he's been in half the finals. He also placed top 4 in Win A Box number 3. So he does really well in these Win A Boxes, and probably the favorite if I had to pick one going into this match. But Kadaz also, he has not been playing competitively as far as I've seen as long as Art LeQuint, unless he went by a different name. But he's also done really well. He's played in 2 Win A Boxes and he topped them both. This time in the finals. Last time he made top 8 and lost to the eventual winner of the tournament, Goblet of Greed. So a bit of an unlucky quarterfinals opponent there, but still like really well. Has topped both of his Win A Boxes he's played in. So this should hopefully be a really good match. In before 2-0. But let's get started. So you've got them wishing each other good luck here. Always good to see good sportsmanship before we start the rock, paper, scissors here. Probably the most skillful part of the match, in my opinion, if I had to pick a part. We'll see what they lead off with here. So we've got, they tie. I feel like every time we've done a Win A Box video, they always tie with the first toss out. And then they tie again with... What is with the ties, man? Okay, there we go. Art LeQuint wins this time. He's going to get to elect to go first or second here. Not really as big of a deal in speed duels as it is in advanced, but some things are available to you if you go first or second, depending on the matchup. So, Art LeQuint takes second. TP skills are going to come. I'm just going to spoil it right now. Kadaz in the top is playing TP Warriors, and Art LeQuint at the bottom is playing Zombie Burn. So we'll see what Kadaz leads off with here. Sets 2, sets a monster. A bit of a passive opening, but it's turn 1. It's just how it is. Art LeQuint's probably going to mirror that, just given that he's playing Burn. I like these sleeves here that Art LeQuint's got, and the tour guide sleeves that Kadaz has. But we'll see. Sets 1, sets 2, sets 3. Now what? What is Burn gonna do? Takes one back. Hold on, Judge. Sorry, wrong card. Okay, so he meant to set another phase down. So we know that he has, okay, so he's got 3 back row, and then we know at least 1 card in his hand is a speller. And then he sets a monster. So we know the last card in his hand is a Speller Trap. But he sets the 1 monster. I expect Kadaz to go aggressive here. He's gonna summon a monster, set a back row. And then probably flip up that face down and get aggressive here. He's not going to flip up, okay. He's going to swing in with the Blade Knight. That's going to get caught with the Nightmare Wheel, so he's trying to protect it. Chain Dust Tornado. Probably going to be seeing a lot of Nightmare Wheel players, or Nightmare Wheels out of these 2 players, given they're both playing Twisted Personality. But so the attack is going to continue. Interesting that he wants to protect the face down, if it was like a Nidorya or something, so I feel like that means it's not a Nidorya. It's a Zombina, oh no. And then you know that that's the only monster you draw with Zombina. Not what you want to see in your opening hand, because Zombina specials a monster from your grave, but if there's nothing in there, then you just get the short end of the stick. So we'll see if he draws a monster here, sets a back row. Okay, so he just drew that monster. And we'll see. I'm surprised he didn't flip up the face down and like go aggressive. But I guess that's fine. So we've got the Zoma come out. So he has 3 monsters now. He's probably hoping to see a back row here. So it was a Nidorya that he didn't flip up. I'm surprised. I feel like he should have flipped up the Nidorya last turn and like poked for 1200 or tried to force out another back row card. He doesn't set, so that means Kadaz drew a monster, more than likely. He doesn't set any back row, and he had 2 open spots. So he swings into a Nidorya that's going to get rid of the Zoma, unfortunately. And then he's going to swing with the Nidorya here. And we'll see what Artliquent wants to activate, if anything. So we had Haunted. Okay, so I feel like he should have swung with the Nidorya. He could have either done 1200 or forced out that Haunted Shrine, but then the Zombina's on the field, and at the start of this turn, so the Haunted Shrine would have been gone, Zombina would have been on the field, and he could have killed the Zombina, then killed the Nidorya, but now he has to kill the Zombina and special the Nidorya. I feel like he should have swung. Turn 3, he should have flipped up the Nidorya, but we'll see if it matters. So Artliquent gets aggressive here. He's actually going to swing with the Zombina. And this is kind of why the 1200 matters to me, is because like this is how this Yomi ship, Zombina, Nidorya, recursion deck works. Is like they get aggressive and they take like small chunks of damage, like recurring their monsters. And so every little bit of damage helps. But he's going to swing with the Zombina, go into Nidorya, swing the Nidorya. He doesn't have to be this aggressive. He could have just sat on the defensive Zombina and like passed turn and not have taken all this damage, but it does give him counters. So that's nice. And then they're on 2, and Kadaz can't remove the 2 to rip a card out of Artliquent's hand because he doesn't have any cards in his hand. But there's the monster that Kadaz drew last turn. I'm sure Artliquent, he could let this go through, but I don't think he will. Just because you don't want to drop... You don't want to be in lethal range of like a Zoma effect or Nightmare Wheel. You don't want to fall below your opponent so far in life points, because then you will lose to Nightmare Wheel way before he will. But yeah, so he Nightmare Wheels it, he stops it, and now Kadaz is going to take the 500, that's going to put a counter. So both of them are at 3. He can pop the Gaia if he wants to. Bit of a lackluster use of Nightmare Wheel, but he can do it if he wants. Or he can just sit on it, and, you know, of course it's going to get popped next turn by Kadaz, so might as well. Might as well. Unfortunate that the Nightmare Wheel had such little use, but not really a way around it. He's going to Nightmare Wheel the Zombina. Kind of sucks that he doesn't get rid of his counters here, because, you know, he doesn't get a counter here for the Twisted, or for the Nightmare Wheel 500 burn. Artliquent got to put a counter on his Twisted Personality, but Kadaz didn't get to put one on him. That's big in these TP Mirror matches, is kind of like micromanaging the counters and whatnot. So if you're getting counters and your opponent isn't, that's problematic. And he's just going to summon and then not swing over the Zombina or anything. So that just means that like Artliquent has an opportunity to get even more counters. He's going to double summon Zoma. Artliquent's probably going to get 3 counters off this next turn. I couldn't imagine what the face down is from Kadaz. It's not a Dust Tornado. It could be another. It can't be Zoma. You would have summoned a Zoma, so it's probably something like Offerings. Yeah, this is not good for Kadaz, because now Artliquent's probably going to go back up to 3 counters here, just depending on what Kadaz has as his back row. So he's going to take the 2,000 there. Artliquent's going to take the 200, go back up to 3 counters. So now Artliquent has 3 counters, and Kadaz has 3 counters, but Artliquent's already resolved his skill fully once. And then this is a swing for game. There's the Offerings, okay. And then Artliquent can... Oh, no, I'm sorry, he can't swing the Nightmare Wheel. So that was definitely not good for Kadaz. But Artliquent will take the 500 here. Neither player puts a counter down. You don't see that very often. Neither player can put a counter down when a player takes damage. But we'll see here. And then we'll see what Kadaz wants to do. If he swings into the Zombina, he'll deal the 600. But the Nidorya will come down. And that'll probably be all. He can crash the Nidorya or something, and then if he sees another monster, he still has the Haunted Shrine banished too. So Kadaz is going to rip the card out of his opponent's hand. He can do that. First time he's gotten to resolve the skill. And then he's just going to pass. I feel like this is game no matter what at this point, because he can remove the counters, pop the Nightmare Wheel, swing with Zombina, and then swing for game. You know, banish. Or swing with Zombina, and then swing with like Nidorya, and then Haunted Shrine back to Zombina, and swing for game. So I feel like no matter what, this is game at this point. Ironically, though, if you look at Art LeQuint's life points, it's 2,000. If he swung turn 3, if he flipped up the Midoriya and swung with Midoriya, Art LeQuint would be at 800 life points. And I don't think he'd be able to... Yeah, so he's going to swing with this. He wouldn't be able to make this play. We'll see. Yeah, he would not be able to make this play here, because he wouldn't have the... This would be game if he swung with the Yomi ship. So I do think that Kadaz kind of screwed himself not flipping up that Midoriya. Turn 3, if he got aggressive with that Midoriya, it probably could have changed the outcome. At the very least, Art LeQuint would have had to been like very passive, and it wouldn't have ended on this turn. It probably would have ended several turns from now. Yeah, so I think that was a bit of a misplay, but game 1 burn is always annoying. We'll see what Kadaz can side here, just because burn, usually I always put my money on burn game 1, because people don't have sidecars for it, and then game 2 and game 3 is whenever you side. It's a little tough, it's still like risky, because when you side for game 2 and game 3, you have to win both those games. Like if you fuck up and just don't see what you sided or something, then you just lose that game too, and you get 2-0 or you get 2-1. So, and that's kind of just an advantage that burn inherently has by having such a weird style that differs so heavily from regular Yu-Gi-Oh. But so Kadaz, change skill, conflict. He doesn't just, you don't have to tell your opponent what skill you change to, only the character. So he could have just said change skill Bakura. Of course, Art LeQuint would have known that that means that he swapped to... He's not swapping to the Dark Necrofield skill. He would have known that he swapped to Inner Conflict. But you don't have to say change skill Conflict. You can say change skill Bakura, the name of the character that you swapped. So Kadaz, standard opening. Art LeQuint says 3. Doesn't set any monsters though, so he doesn't have any monsters right now. That is useful. If Kadaz saw Dust Tornadoes or something, he can get really aggressive here, and potentially just OTK here with 2K beaters. One's going to get locked up by Nightmare Wheel. Big shocker. Here comes the other. Will he take the 2K? I don't think he wants to. What does he want to do here? So the Nightmare Wheel will give Art LeQuint a counter next turn. And then he's going to summon the Zoma. So Kadaz can continue this attack, but it would give 2 counter. He's going to lose half his life, and it'd give a second counter Art LeQuint to rip that card that Kadaz is sitting on out of his hand, which is most likely a monster, because he has an extra back row slot. He didn't set anything. So that could be like a Jinzo, or it could also be a Gap or something. But down comes the Nightmare Wheel for 500. And then we'll see what Art LeQuint... He could get aggressive with the Zoma if he wants to, and get 2 counters off the Zoma attack, so he'll have 3 counters on Twisted Personality, and he'll also take 2,000 life away from Kadaz, but Kadaz also has 2 back row to potentially stop the attack from Art LeQuint. We'll see what he wants to do. He swaps it to attack. I mean, you're going to swap it to attack mode anyway, but... He swaps it to attack mode. We'll see if he wants to attack with it. Puts a counter on Nightmare Wheel. Okay, so he's just putting the counter down to match, so that they know which Blade Knight has the Nightmare Wheel on it, I guess. Thanks, you understood. they just put the counters on the Blade Knight and the Nightmare Wheel. Summons a Midoriya in attack mode, so I guess he's gonna get aggressive here. He doesn't have to. He can play Pat. He can set the Midoriya and then just force Kadaz to come to him, but he's going to go aggro. I don't think it really matters, but sometimes it can. But here we go. So Kadaz is not going to use any of his back rows to stop that attack. And just take the 2,000. Give the 3 counters over to Art LeQuint. And then swing with the Midoriya. And he's got a Nightmare Wheel the Midoriya. He could have Nightmare Wheeled the Zoma instead. Of course, he'd lose the Blade Knight, which he probably doesn't want to do. He wants to have 2... I don't know. I feel like you'd have to like kind of a really fucking think for a long time to figure out whether or not you want to Nightmare Wheel the Midoriya or the Zoma. But it's... I mean, he's got 3 counters on Twisted Personality. He can just pop the Nightmare Wheel next turn. So, I don't know, maybe... I don't think it really matters. I think either way you're kind of in trouble there. And he's not getting any counters because he swapped to Inner Conflict. And he doesn't have a Tribute Summonable monster. He doesn't have a hand right now, so he still hasn't seen a Jinzo or anything. And he could just not. He has 14 cards left in the deck, and I assume he has... Or I know his deck list. He has 1 Jinzo, 2 Gaps, but... So he has 1 Jinzo, and Jinzo's really the only thing that's going to save him here. given just the amount of back row that Art LeQuint has. Gap doesn't really do anything to Zoma. And Gap just gets Nightmare Wheeled, so. But we'll see what Kadaz can do here. Couple turns in. So we've gone through one Nightmare Wheel, one Zoma. So he's got a second Zoma here. That's not good. That can swing for game here if Kadaz can't stop the attack. So 2 Zomas from Art LeQuint here. So he's down to 1,000. Not looking good. He doesn't have any dust. I know he should have 3 dusts. He should have 1 Jinzo. And maybe he put in his gaps. I don't like Gap though. I feel like it's so just bad against this deck. I don't really think Kadaz had a good enough side to deal with a deck like this. So he's going to look to swing for game here with the Zoma. This attack lands, it's over. Nope, Nightmare Wheel. Okay. God, these fucking Nightmare Wheels, man. How many? It's just Nightmare Wheels, Nightmare Wheels, Nightmare Wheels. He's seen 2 Nightmare Wheels. Art LeQuint's seen 1 Nightmare Wheel. Art LeQuint still stacking up TP counters. He's resolved his TP once. And he's almost there to resolving it a second time. He's going to get another counter here. Once it's Art LeQuint's turn. So he's going to have 2 counters now. And Kadaz has 500 life. If he cannot get this Nightmare Wheel off, he loses. Next turn, he has 1 turn left, and he locked up his back row. Ooh, Art LeQuint's going to go for the second Nightmare Wheel here. Oh, and it's going to get offerings, not what you want to see. I guess he doesn't really have a choice, but now he can't draw. So now whatever he said last turn is all he has left. Did he give himself back the 500? Okay. Okay, I think Kadaz thinks that he chained the second Nightmare Wheel to the first Nightmare Wheel, and Art LeQuint had actually did the first Nightmare Wheel, resolved it fully, and then while still in the standby phase, activated the second Nightmare Wheel. So that offerings only stopped the second Nightmare Wheel's 500. The first Nightmare Wheel still activated, it's still resolved, and then a second one activated completely separate from the first one. So I think is what they're doing. So he won't get the 500 back. He just doesn't lose the second. So that's smart from Art LeQuint. I feel like, you know, some people would have rushed into it and just like chained the second Nightmare Wheel. But Art LeQuint did one and then did the other separately that way, probably anticipating an offerings. Just reading the back row based on what he was activating. And knowing to activate the second one completely separately so that if he offerings, he still at least loses the 500 here. And he still gets 1 counter. So he's sitting on 2 counters on TP. Potentially a 3rd next turn because Kadaz needs to do damage at some point to win. So. And then Art LeQuint has game on the field. He also has a Ladybug. Oh no. So the Nightmare Wheel doesn't even do anything at this point. Oh, I forgot the Zoma's locked up by Nightmare Wheel. So for 1 more turn. Next turn Art LeQuint will have 3 counters and he can pop the Nightmare Wheel. So, which is kind of why Nightmare Wheel's not very good against Twisted Personality, is all they have to do is pay 1,500, and then they're allowed to just pop the Nightmare Wheel, so. And he has 2,500 life points left, so he could literally have a whole nother Nightmare Wheel, and just not be allowed to draw for the rest of the game. It doesn't do anything, so Kadaz is in a really tough spot. He can't draw, he activated offerings last turn, and then it's back over to Zoma. So we'll see what that face down is, and if it can stop a Zoma attack. If Art LeQuint sees another monster, and there's the second Zoma, so yeah, it's over. Draw, pop the Nightmare Wheel. I mean, unless the face downs, yeah, Kadaz calls it. Okay, so that's it. That was the end of game 2. Not really much. I feel like Kadaz could have done this game. I think the last game was just messing up the Nidoria, and he potentially could have won. But this game was definitely, and he had an offerings too. Wow. So even if he did see a Jinzo, he had an offerings for it. I feel a little because he didn't see any dusts, he didn't see gaps or Jinzos, he didn't see any, he didn't even get to play his skill, so probably a misplay to even swap to that thing. And then it looks like Art LeQuint saw 2 wheels and all 3 Zomas, and Kadaz didn't see Jinzo or Dust Radio, so that's like a guaranteed loss, pretty much. But regardless, congratulations to Art LeQuint for being your Win A Box number. So he wins this one, he lost the last time he was in the Win A Box finals, he wins this one. And actually, Art LeQuint was tied for 3rd on the top 10 global leaderboard, but he was only 1 point away from being tied for 1st. So I think with this one, he's going to get 5 points. And there's one more tournament, Tetris Jinzo tournament still has to finish, I think. And And so, oh, that's also right. Art LeQuint went undefeated. I just realized Art LeQuint was undefeated. He finished first in Swiss 6-0, and then he won the event. So he actually 9-0'd this turn. Burn is undefeated. Went undefeated this tournament. So it won the last tournament with Apprentice Burn, and then Zombie Burn went undefeated this tournament. So I don't think Burn is necessarily the best deck of the format. I think that's more so of just players not respecting Burn and not siding very well against it. I know what Kadaz's side is. I know that it's not very good, especially against this style of Burn. It just can't win. This style of Burn pretty much hard loses to Amazon Trainee and especially Vampire Lord. This deck cannot beat Vampire Lord. But no, who the fuck runs Vampire Lord? But congratulations definitely to Art LeQuint. Is undefeated this tournament, 9-0. With this, I've seen this build before. I saw it at YCS Vegas. Mike and Ben had a weird little build with it, but it hard. I beat it at Vegas because of Vampire Lords. It's just the deck cannot do anything against that card. But also trainees are really nice, shuffling back the Nidorias, the Zombinas, and we saw Yomi ship. Trainee will just turn all those effects off. But huge congratulations to Art LeQuint. I don't want to announce it because I'm not sure. I have to go and actually do the math and see what happens with Tetra's Jinzo tournament, which is the last tournament that's going to give points to this season's leaderboard. But I think with these 5 points, Art LeQuint is going to be 4 points ahead, or I guess 3 points because Blaze also topped this event. But Art LeQuint should be 3 points ahead right now on the leaderboard. You should be 3 points in first place with a lead of 3 points. First place with a lead of 3 points. And we'll see what happens with Tetra's Jinzo tournament. And that'll kind of determine who's first. But Art LeQuint may just be your season 1. I guess we'll call it season 1. It's basically January 2020 till now before the Battle City box releases. He'll be your, statistically speaking, best speed duel player of the event and sort of your season 1 champion. So huge congrats to Art LeQuint. Looking at Kadaz, bit of a misplay game 1 with the Nidoria, which I don't think it would have won him the game because Art LeQuint still had control. He could still play really passive, but it would have at least continued the game. And then game 2 is just not really much he could do. So unlucky game 2. But still, topping both of his winner boxes, he finished second this time. So he finished top 8 the first time, second this time, perhaps first place is in his future in the next winner box. But congratulations to both players. Congratulations especially to Art LeQuint for winning. And now we're going to go into the deck breakdown to kind of give a summary of what happened this tournament and the decks that were played and how well they did. So stay tuned for that. Alright guys, and here we are with the deck breakdown for Winner Box number 4, just giving you a brief overview of kind of what went down this Winner Box. So we had 29 total players come out this time, and then we're just going to go the usual bottom to top here, talking about each deck. So we've got Zombie Burn, we had one person play it, that one person did top. Guess who? It would be the winner of the tournament, Art LeQuint. So 1 play, 1 top, and 1 win. So well done by Art LeQuint to kind of pick up a deck that's a bit under the radar, people were not really expecting, and then pilot it really, really well to a championship. We've got Warriors, that was just pure Warriors. It was Dicefoon as the skill that was played by the TCG Philosopher, aka the European Speed Duel Champ, aka Denis de Jong, playing Dicefoon Warriors. Didn't top, unfortunately, did okay, 3-3, which is, only 1 game away from potentially 4-2, a potential top. But Pure Warriors, it's still around, played pretty much very similar to the Scars of Battle format. But it was interesting to see him make that deck choice. And then we got the 1 TP Warrior. I was going to say TP Warriors, but 1 TP Warrior. Guess who played it? That's right, Kadaz. You just saw him play. Unfortunately, didn't win it all, but 1 play, 1 top. So still TP Warriors making a good showing, even though not as many people played it this time around. And the next one, really interesting, we had Terror from the Deep. That's right, Terror from the Deep, the Kairyu-Shin or Kairyu-Shin, whatever skill fucking played. He topped. He did really well. Yumi, congratulations. He actually was undefeated going into round 5. So he was 4-0 and then unfortunately lost the next 2 matches. But at that point, those losses don't really hurt you very much because you're only losing to other people that are 4-0 or like 3-1. So 4-2 in Swiss, and then unfortunately lost in the quarterfinals to Kadaz, who made it to the finals. But still, Terror from the Deep, that's really, really interesting. That deck list will be up. He did top, so you will have access to that deck list. It will be in the Hall of Victory once I get them posted, hopefully here in the next day or so, if you guys want to check that out. So, Terror from the Deep, really interesting, for sure. And it was undefeated. It was 4-0 going into round 5, so very, very well done. We had Pure Insects. We had Inner Conflict, Dark Warrior, which again is Inner Conflict Warrior, but they take out the Gear Freed for Gilgarth, which is a Dark 1800 vanilla. And then they also have things like Jinzo still in there. They have Sphere Karibo in there, and that gives them enough access to enough Dark monsters to also run a Lure of Darkness, which gives them a little bit of consistency, you know, being able to draw further into their deck with the Lure of Darkness. And then we had Inner Conflict Apprentice. Didn't do too hot, but that is basically the Apprentice package with Dark Red Enchanter, with Jinzo, and whatnot. We had GK Burn, a deck that I think hasn't been seen for a while. And I think a lot of people thought it was kicked out of the meta by Jinzo, which it pretty much was. But here it is, making a return. We had one person play it, one top. So GK Burn, not really looking too bad. May actually come back with the box. We'll have to see. We have Dark Moth, How the Mighty Have Fallen. One person that is still Blaze, who just always plays it. I think 5Ds, still 5 dimensions, might still play Dark Moth, but Blaze still playing Dark Moth, still topping, so you know it is still a solid deck. TP Warrior and Dark Moth both not seeing a whole lot of representation this tournament, but both players who played them did top, so still a strong deck. We have Relinquished now being played more than Dark Moth for the second straight Win A Box, but nobody topping with it. I still think it's not a very good deck. It's one of the most played decks this format. I think it's like 6th or 7th most played. And it's still not topping Win A Boxes, so I don't think it's very good, but it is getting some nice support with the Battle City box, so we'll see if that elevates it to being able to top. I don't like Relinquished, it's kind of annoying to play against, so hopefully it won't be really good, but nonetheless, moving on, we've got Despair Zombies. This deck is... I actually thought this deck was always, like, pretty good, just in terms of the tools that it had access to. It's just that everybody played Parasite Paranoid, which just crushes Despair Zombies because they tribute your Despair from the Dark to special summon Moth, a 3500 beater that can then kill your Despair from the Dark even if you bring it back with Haunted Shrine. Sometimes they can get out 2 Moths, like in the case of Dark Moth with so much draw power, and they just eviscerate you. So Despair was always a deck that if I would was good against everything but Moth, but everybody was playing Moth, and so you just couldn't win. But now nobody's playing, you know, the Paranoid skill, the Cocoon skill really anymore in these major tournaments at least. So you're seeing sort of a return of people willing to play Despair Zombies. And it also, alongside Relinquish, got some nice support in the Battle City box, so we'll see how good it is next format, especially next Win A Box. But 3 people played it here, none topped. It still has consistency issues, it's not perfect. Apprentice Burn, this was the deck that won Win A Box number 3, however the player who won with it, Goblin of Greed, didn't play this event. So this was just 3 other people playing the deck, unfortunately none topped. But it was close. It's still a solid deck. It's still like tier 2. Burn in general, you know, we saw Zombie Burn win. We saw Apprentice Burn bubble. Last tournament, we saw Apprentice Burn win. Burn is still a very good deck. It's the 4th most played deck. I don't think the Burn is the best strategy. I just think that like a lot of people are really just lazy and not like respecting it and not running like proper counters to deal with these Burn decks. And so I was able to come up with 2 wins. So Apprentice Burn and Zombie Burn doing really well. But Burn is the most played deck behind Icy Warrior, TP Warrior, and Dark Moth. So, and Dark Moth even, you know, if you want to count the last month or so, because most of Dark Moth's, most of the people playing Dark Moth were playing it several months ago. But this last month, I would say Burn is the 2nd or 3rd most played deck, behind only Icy Warrior and maybe TP Warrior. But nobody topped this time with Apprentice Burn. And then the last one, I think the one that everybody's probably could really see was the long line of 12 Inner Conflict Warrior decks. It's still by far the most popular deck of this format. It made up almost half the people playing were playing Inner Conflict Warrior. Almost half the top cut was Inner Conflict Warrior, 3 of the 8. But none made the finals, and none won again. So Inner Conflict Warrior definitely feels like the premier deck of this format, but I don't think it's the best deck of this format. Just talking about it because obviously the format's ending and people are gonna, you know, want to know what the best deck was. I'm not sure if I'm comfortable giving it to Inner Conflict Warrior just because of how its representation was incredibly high. Like, we're talking over 70 people played this deck in tournaments. You know, the next closest deck would be, I believe, Dark Moth at around 50 people. I don't even think it's going to hit 50 people playing the deck. But the tops, like the number of tops, the number of wins were very, very similar. When you look at Interconflict Warrior, Dark Moth, and TP Warrior, they all have very similar number of tops, about 15, 16. They all have a very similar number of wins, like 2, 3. But then Interconflict Warrior has like 70 people playing it, whereas Dark Moth and TP Warrior only had like 40, 50 people playing it. So I don't know if I'm confident saying Interconflict was the best deck, but it definitely was like the premier deck that most people played. And it's just, it's proving itself here with half the people playing it again. But that's the end of this Win A Box. That's the end of this format, really, for the Speed Duel League at least. We have no more tournaments going on for this format. Congratulations again to Art LeQuint for winning it. If you would like to participate in these Win A Boxes, the Speed Duel League Win A Box, the largest ongoing Speed Duel tournament out there, you can simply join the Speed Duel League Discord. There is an invite link in the description below, and you can comment in the sign-up channel of the Win A Box category, and then send me a deck list, and that is how you are entered into these tournaments. Our next one is going to be Win A Box number 5, taking place Saturday, December 5th. It's going to start at 12 p.m. CST. We're going back to the 72 hours per round. So it's going to be a round 3 to 4 week long tournament. You'll have 72 hours per round to play your opponent, and then we'll start the next round. Top 8. God, I'll have an infographic here somewhere for you guys to kind of figure out what the tournament's all about. But that's going to be kicking off in just under 2 weeks from the timing of this video. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this Win A Box. Number 4 is in the bag. And then we've got the Battle City box dropping in just about a week from now, so I hope you guys are excited for that. And we've got so many tournaments coming your guys' way. Me, as well as other tournament organizers, have so much stuff planned for the Battle City box, so I hope you guys are excited for that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.